This quirky little field watch has a great story. Rec-Spec is short for Reconnaissance Spec, and this goes back to the Military Assistance Command, which was a classified US Special Operations Division operating before and during the Vietnam War. Now, the individuals within this unit in Vietnam procured a lot of equipment locally, and that includes the watches. So rather than having something American made, interestingly enough, they ended up securing a batch of Seiko 6119-8090s. I know that just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? But if you have a look at the Seiko and then take a look at this Praesidus, you might notice some similarities. So Praesidus are famed for modern reinterpretations and recreations of classic US military watches, and this is the latest titanium cased Rec-Spec, which continues that tradition. I think it's important to understand this history to appreciate what this watch is and also the flexibility of it. Yes, with this included NATO strap it is full military spec, but to be honest, it can be whatever you want it to be. The original Seiko was a dress watch, so depending on the strap completely changes this watch. And you'll see in my video review today, I will jump between the NATO and this olive green Artem strap, which I think looks great and really matches the dial colour. Welcome to the channel, by the way. So this is my first experience today with the brand Praesidus or Praesidus. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, I have heard about this brand before, I think in my own comments section, and I've never had a chance to explore them. But any watches that have a story and some kind of a history, even if as a reinterpretation, I really quite appreciate. So I was looking forward to spending some time with this one. I should let you know that I was sent this watch and I haven't been asked for it back, so I'm guessing it might be one that I will be able to keep. That said, there's been no terms and conditions for this video. I was sent the watch and that was it. It's a blank canvas for me. I've been wearing it now for around 3 weeks, so I've got a pretty good feel of how it is day to day on the wrist. And we will talk about that, but first of all, let's start the review and get into some basic dimensions and some specs. Okay, so I said titanium, and yes, the head of this watch is just 37 grams. So whatever your strap weighs, add it on. It's going to be super light. It's 12mm thick, including the crystal. It's 38mm in diameter, 45mm lug to lug, 20mm lug width, so pretty compact today, definitely suitable for smaller wrists. It's a Seiko NH36 movement inside, and considering the original watch from Vietnam, I think that's quite a fitting choice. Also, the original was a day date, and of course the NH36 is also a day date, so it all matches up nicely. This is a grade 2 titanium case that is bead blasted, and the crystal is a raised dome K1 mineral crystal today. Looking a little bit closer at the watch, and we'll start with the dial, and the first thing I think you notice outside of this lovely olive green colour is the texture on the dial. It looks a little bit like a fine grit sandpaper, and that might sound like a bad thing, but no, I mean it's actually a very good thing. It adds intrigue and a little bit of character to the watch, and it pairs very nicely with that olive green colour. The numerals on this one are highly legible, and they look like they're all applied and slightly three-dimensional. Obviously the day date you'll see at the 3 o'clock, and there is a variation in the colour between the day and the date disc, just like you would have had on the original vintage Seikos. The hour and minute hand are not flat. They have these small chamfers that run along each side, which means that they do catch the light quite nicely. And it's a small bit of detail, but just having that little bit of shape to them just keeps the watch a little bit more interesting. Not too much text on this dial, obviously the branding at the top, then the Rec-Spec titanium, and if you look close at the 6 o'clock, there is United States Assembly. So yes, these watches are assembled in America. I'm sure the parts come from Asia. Obviously at this price point, I know there's not a lot of manufacturing of watch components in America right now, but for my American audience, knowing the watches are assembled there, that might add some extra value for you. Legibility from this dial is great. You'll notice that alongside the olive green you have this sort of matte yellow tone on the numerals, also on the hands and around the minute markers, and it's a really nice contrast that means the watch is really easy to tell the time, even despite its compact dimensions and of course only being a 38mm case. And looking at that case, of course it matches the vintage Seiko in terms of design, but it's very well finished, especially for grade 2 titanium, which is not always so easy to get a nice finish on, let's say. The bead blasting is done well, and there's also brushing along the sides and the top of the lugs there. So it of course has that slightly dulled titanium colour. It's not overly bright or overly blingy, let's say, but it still is well enough finished to maintain the versatility that I hinted at earlier on in terms of dressing it up or dressing it down. And something I almost forgot to mention is you will see there is drilled lug holes, which means of course there's no fixed spring bars. Personally, I don't like fixed spring bars, even on military style watches, because it just limits you to NATO straps, and I like to have a bit more flexibility. Now, when I first saw the crown on this watch, I expected it was going to be an absolute nightmare because it's very slim, it's very slender, and it's tucked in nice and close to the case, almost flush. However, in reality, actually it's really easy to wind. It digs into your finger and grips it the same way that a very skinny tyre does in snow on a car, and sometimes it's better than wider tyres for grip, if you know what I mean. So it's easy to wind in the first position. There's no screw down crown on this one. We've got 50 meters of water resistance, so yeah, don't go deep sea diving with this one, but you'll certainly survive a rain shower. And in terms of pulling the crown out and setting the time and the date, actually I found it quite easy just to get a thumbnail under there and just click it out. So yes, I think it looks like it's going to be awkward, but in reality the small crown is really rather functional. Now on the Praesidus website you can buy the watch with leather or NATO. Mine came with this desert style NATO, and actually it's a pretty good piece of fabric. It feels high quality. It's not the softest, it's not like the seatbelt style ones where it's really soft on the skin, but it's certainly not uncomfortable, and it feels like it would have a very long life and be very durable. It has a signed keeper on there, and all the metallic hardware feels of a very good quality as well. How about the time grapher? Well, it's running pretty well for an NH movement. There's no regulation, so obviously it's always a little bit of a roll of the dice. Just a quick interruption in today's video review to say if you're not already subscribed and you're enjoying today's video, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell notification icon and giving the video a thumbs up. Thank you so much to all my existing subscribers, and back to the Praesidus. Looking at a couple of wrist shots on my 17.5cm wrist, it seems very well proportioned. Obviously it has that vintage feel, slightly smaller, but I think it looks great, and I can say that over the weeks I've been wearing it, it's super comfortable. The titanium and the lightweight obviously helps, but the case conforms very nicely to the wrist. And yeah, I think as a daily watch, this is a great choice. Let's take a look at the lume, and unfortunately, you might spot the issue here. The dial is okay for a field watch. I mean, we're not expecting dive watch performance here, but it's just the hour and the minute hand. They get lost and they disappear quick, and if you want to tell the time, well, the numerals are one thing, but I need to see the hour hand and the minute hand. A little bit disappointing. So I really quite like this watch, but it's not just the lume that is the only area I think for improvement. But at the same time as this, I think we should talk about some of the things that are really good about this watch. So yeah, alongside that poor performance of the lume on the hour and the minute hand, it should also be noted that grade 2 titanium does scratch relatively easy, but I always have this experience with grade 2 titanium. It's the same with other watches that I've had, and whilst it is possible to just accept the scratches, a hardness coating would be a nice addition. I also think that the mineral crystal will turn off some collectors. A lot of people would expect sapphire, but the strange thing is with the crystal that, although I'll point out that a lot of people might be disappointed with mineral, the crystal is actually one of the best things about this watch as well. Something about this mineral crystal gives phenomenal clarity, and it has really, really good AR. I mean, super strong. I'm so impressed with both the clarity and the anti-reflective coating. This is a great bit of mineral crystal, and I can't think of many times where I've said that. Other positives, I really like the versatility. Like I said, on the NATO it has one character, on this Artem it has a different character, and I'm pretty sure if you were to put a nice bit of leather on it, it will feel different again. And whilst the olive green might be a little bit more tactical, if you go on the brand's website there is other colorways that I think would pair with even more different straps and give you even more choices. I think fundamentally this watch is charming, it's comfortable, it's all the best parts of that Seiko 6119-8900, except it has a obviously more modern movement with hacking. It's got some great styling tweaks like the dial texture and the colorway, and I think it tells the story but with its own twist. I do have a large American audience on the channel, so it's also worth to bear in mind that this brand donates 5% of their sales to US veterans, and of course the US assembly we've already spoken about. So what's my conclusion with this watch? Well, I think this watch is worth more than the value or the sum of its parts. I think as a package, it's really strong, it's got that great history, and it wears beautifully on the wrist, and I really have enjoyed it. I'm conscious it might not hit every single specification box for some enthusiasts, and you might look at the retail price and think, yeah, you know what, it's difficult to perhaps justify that versus some other options. But I think my audience is pretty smart. You will know that it's far more expensive to operate a micro brand in the US than it is to operate an AliExpress brand with a large factory in Shenzhen. So anyway, that's my experience of this Praesidus watch. Let me know in the comments if you have any experience with the brand, what you think about this watch, and if you would consider buying this one, or if there's other field watches that you would look at first. I always try to reply to as many comments as I can, and thank you so much for watching. Hopefully, I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.